Good afternoon, everyone. This is Elisa Baum. I'm GridGain Systems Director of Product Marketing. I would like to introduce today's speakers. We have Eric Hartman. He is a financial services industry consultant. And also we have Matt Sorrell. He's our Director of Technical Marketing at GridGain Systems. And the two will be jointly presenting today GridGain in-memory computing platform, empowering insurance with in-memory computing. And with that said, I will turn the floor over to our first speaker, Eric Hartman. Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Alyssa. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I know we have usually attendees from various parts of the world. This is the next event here that we're offering on the financial services industry's use of GridGain's in-memory computing platform. And we'll talk about insurance today and how insurance companies are handling the new world in which they find themselves into, and what technology helps them to do so, to be competitive. And Matt is going to help me also with some of the specific GridGain content of showing where that might be applicable. So let's start with the overview of the insurance industry today. Well, the insurance companies confront a marketplace that's changing more drastically than perhaps ever before. There are macroeconomic, there are social, there are regulatory changes, lots of changes happening within the industry. I just outlined here just some of the activity that I've observed within the insurance industry. While the net premiums had been growing and total now 1.2 trillion or in 2015, and I know it's been growing since then. It's being split practically evenly between life, health, and property and casualty, 55-45, almost roughly half of that. There are almost 6,000 insurance companies in the United States. Right now, it's about 2.6% of the US GDP. From the catastrophes and different events, weather events, nature events, all kinds of negative events that usually the insurance industry is supposed to help you to deal with, that's increasing from 34 in 2014, for example, to 39 in 2015. So the number of catastrophes is increasing. The housing market boost, we're observing that, and that also is related to increase in insurance premiums and insurance policies written. More vehicles are being sold. There's more M&A activity that's being observed within the market in the insurance world. The economy is changing somewhat, that now we're talking more about sharing economy and pools and using what you need when you need it versus actually acquiring real estate, vehicles, or any of the other material things for individual consumption. There's new regulatory requirements that are being put in place, along with uncertainty about what to expect with regulatory regime after the new elections in the States, after some of the changes in Europe that we're seeing. So that's also an interesting area to keep observing and being ready for any kind of changes. The companies are struggling with reducing expenses, and technology is usually one of the ways that they try to utilize that to reduce their expenses, ongoing expenses. Also, they're looking for efficiency. And again, technology is usually one of the methods to improve that, to improve efficiency. We're also seeing some of the securities being offered in the market, in the secondary market, primary market, and secondary market within the trading environments that are linked to insurance. So again, there's more emphasis to insurance, even from traditional Wall Street companies' perspective. And just like any other industry, there is a more shift towards digital. People expect to use mobile, to use online access to the insurance policies, and more competition this way, that now you have access to online sources, so you want to compare rates available from other places, and that creates healthy competition where companies compete for the customers. And they need to come up with other ways of like rewarding customers, bundling different products together to offer better services and to convince customers to stay with them. Also, user friendliness is a big thing that everybody's looking for, that one button experience, one touch experience where you just click on a button and you get your policy, right, with as few clicks as possible. And that's what the industry is also moving towards, simplifying the process of comparing rates and getting the insurance policy ready. Technology by itself that's supporting insurance industry is becoming more affordable. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but the cloud services and outsourcing and clustering and many other ways to actually utilize technology and staying more competitive. And then there's innovation. There are many startups that are also popping up that provide disruptive services to the traditional insurance companies. Right? They're fully digital. They offer online access to their services, to their policies, to comparing costs. And so this is a interesting area where there's more and more financing from venture capitalists and other investors going into the insurance technology field. I just have a slide, a graph here right next to my slide, which shows consistent growth, significant growth, quarter after quarter in the financing that insurance technology gets from the investors. There also seem to be a reduction of steps and time to complete each transaction, right? In addition to just being simple, clicking one button and getting information you need, there's also timing that you want. You don't want to wait for days or so for your quotes to be available, for your insurance to premium policy to be available. Everything has to be streamlined, straight through processing. You apply, you click process, you get the rate, you get the policy underwritten to you. That's I think, where we're moving towards, sort of real-time processing of insurance requests, insurance claims, insurance underwriting, all of this in one seamless process. There's also better and faster analytics that's required from the insurance industry. Right, all this actuary and all the other services, analysis, different ratios that normally the insurance companies calculate. Again, they want to be able to analyze more different parameters to generate their regressions, to understand how risky or each policy might be when they're underwriting a one. And outsourcing and cloud-based, as I mentioned, are also trying to take away some of the processes that were very costly before for insurance companies to handle, and trying to take over those processes by processing it for many insurance companies at the same time to reduce costs and complexity of the process. The top trends in insurance. Obviously, there's a digital insurance, the digital marketplace, monitoring of activities, real-time monitoring, right? There are devices that you can install, then there are information that you can collect in real time that will help you to make decisions quicker and more precise and give more competitive rates to individuals, as well as Internet of Things and new safety technology and different information that you can receive right from the road, right from the vehicle, right from your home, right on information. You don't need to keep asking for certifications, paperwork from people that cannot be verified easily. This information is available through technology. You can receive all this information in real time. There are challenges also, and the challenges are that we are, as I mentioned earlier, operating in a global and regulatory uncertain environment. We are in the slowly growing economy period right now, with relatively low interest rates that continue to pressure investment income. We are in the world of disruptive technologies, which may be good or bad for the traditional insurance companies, right? Because they need to now adjust. They need to compete with newcomers that are fully digital, that can provide outcomes very quickly and at rates that are more competitive than what they've traditionally offered before. And customer retention becomes an issue, right? So as customers can easily switch from one insurance company to another because they see a better rate, because they see a better service, the established insurance companies need to find ways of understanding the risks with customers living and constantly offer some kind of incentives for customers to stay. And there's also reputational risk. As if there are issues with fraud or with loss of data or some of the other issues that we've seen lately with some of the companies, that creates reputational risk and can easily lead to customers abandoning those traditional insurance companies and moving to alternatives. And cyber risk is part of that, as well as the cultural and generational change that now the insurance is offered to different ages, and it becomes easier to purchase insurance. There are different insurance-related products, and so that also creates this informational spread to younger generation. We are seeing more and more getting interested in various insurance products. Plus, we've talked about the economy moving towards shared economy, and again, that creates additional types of interest from younger generation as they share vehicles, as they share homes, as they share other valuables of finding the right model to insure those material things that they've gained in life. And then there's customer service is quite important, and again, understanding what the customers need, real-time analysis, real-time processing of their claims is really important. And all of that is related to performance. The more technology you have, the more analysis you need to do around data, the more transactions you need to process, there is an effect on performance. And we'll talk about today how we can resolve some of those performance issues with in-memory computing. And then there's also legacy technology that needs to be replaced. And if the companies decide to replace legacy technology, we think it's the right way for them to look at alternative new technologies that can help them to stay competitive, that can help them to grow and scale, as well as the security concerns. Again, they need to look for technology partners or technology solutions that can address some of those strict security limitations that might exist. The regulations, like I said, are evolving. There are new insurance standards that are being introduced throughout the world. There's likelihood of changes to Dodd-Frank Act that may also relate to insurance and how the insurance will work with that. There's also regulations on investments and asset reserves, investment advice, consumer protection. There's additional documentation requirements, cyber risk management, anti-fraud regulation, and different tax code changes that we also expect to come out later this year. As well as the technology trends. So from a technology perspective, we're seeing more and more interest from insurance companies towards open source and utilizing sort of standards and sharing protocols between them as they communicate with each other. Blockchain and smart contracts are also becoming an interest of insurance companies, so they can participate in this financial blockchain infrastructure ecosystem when that becomes fully functional and available. Software becomes a critical component of business. The decision-making businesses will make more of data-driven decisions. The data becomes more open, more streaming, faster, and needs to be analyzed faster. The architectures are also opening up, as well as the APIs, as well as you want to develop in a language that you prefer, but having access to all of the different data streams and other applications using the same language. There's more analytics, predictive analytics, intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks. All of those ideas are being used in insurance because you need to analyze a lot of data, streaming data, real-time data, as well as historical data, and then making the right predictions for the insurance-based analysis, as well as performance, stability, security, scalability. All of those are important components of the new technology trends that are demanded from the insurance company. The next, I think I'd like Matt to pick up here and talk a little bit about in-memory computing and how it can help with real-time, large-scale transactioning, as well as analytics that's needed for insurance industry. Matt?
Okay, thank you, Eric. Elise, oh, okay, good. Now I can do my screen sharing, which I should really be better at. Although I'm not sure, aha. I have to share the right screen. Okay, there we go. I'm showing the why in memory now screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so all of those factors that Eric talked about, they sort of all add up to why we need in-memory computing now, specifically in insurance, but also in more than insurance. So it's a combination of working with large data sets, needing real-time answers or analytics, all of that. The need to move all business processes into something digital, and then things have to be fast, right? So real time is what's in a large part what's driving this need for performance that can only be enabled by in-memory computing. It's a combination of factors too. Internet of Things is pretty big in the insurance industry as well, and the need for real-time analysis on IoT data, in addition to real-time analysis on basically a whole lot of other things that are applicable to insurance. And the need for real-time, the need for performance would all be one thing. But if you then add to it the falling cost of RAM, you now have a good story for why in-memory is applicable now. So on the left, we've got the growth in the amount of data, and on the right, you've got declining DRAM costs. Costs are dropping about 30% every month. It was really interesting. I found a historical chart, very similar to this, of RAM prices, and because the issue had come up of what would 256 gigabytes of RAM have cost in 1985, and I actually calculated it, and it was over $3 million. So now you're looking at that being really a fraction of that. So now it's applicable. You can move things into RAM that you could not have in the past. And let's see my next slide. And as a result, the in-memory computing market is growing. We've got Gartner talking about this as being a combination of different kinds of in-memory technologies. But overall, the big message here is that this is a market that's growing over 20% a year and will be at $10 billion by the end of the year in 2019. There's actually a lot of different technology offerings and the potential for some confusion, right? If you look at how this is broken out, in-memory databases, in-memory analytics, in-memory data grids, event stream processing, what's that all about? We've got a little bit of, it's all about combining everything and making an in-memory computing platform, which is what GridGain does. And so this isn't just an in-memory database, this is a full-featured solution with data caching, that's the data grid, massive parallel processing, that's the compute grid. Again, so now these are important in the insurance industry because we need things in real time. So we need the data accessible in memory so we get faster responses to our queries. And we need the distributed processing of the compute grid to take place because we need to run our analytics and be very smart about the way that we provide our insurance services. So one thing that we do is we don't necessarily have to replace an existing database. A good way to get started is to simply insert our in-memory computing platform between your existing application and your database, move your data into memory and achieve a speed boost by that. Eric had talked about the need for high performance and real-time operational data sets, as well as high performance and real-time analytics use cases. So that's something in-memory computing is really well suited for. And multi-platform support is a great thing for the insurance industry as well, because again, now we can tie together multiple data sources, like all of the operational data that's in the relational database, maybe with historical data that's stored in Hadoop. Maybe an insurance company would have, let's see, something like video of assets or pictures of assets held in a NoSQL database. All that can be combined, held in memory, and accessed via our unified API. And again, the flexibility story continues by our ability to be deployed either on-premise, in the cloud, or in a hybrid environment of both. I kind of went through a bunch of stuff that's on this slide. So we're looking at a bunch of features together, right, which make up an in-memory computing platform. And this is really the key, that it's not GridGain or Apache Ignite, which is the open source version of GridGain, is not a point solution. We have a whole bunch of grids that work together in memory to process and store and data and provide access to it. Like the data grid for caching data, compute grid, which I mentioned before, does parallel processing of compute tasks. SQL Grid provides access to the data in data grid via ODBC or JDBC drivers, so you can continue to use the SQL that you already know and love. Streaming grid, service grid, Hadoop acceleration, all this stuff. It's all tied together using our advanced clustering technology, which allows you to add new nodes to the cluster automatically. And I'm going to go into more depth. This is more of a setting you up for what's to come kind of slide. So what are insurance companies using in-memory computing for? We sent out a survey last year to GridGain's customers in financial services, and here are our results, right? So we can see that the leaders are high-speed transactions, real-time streaming, followed by database caching, hybrid transactional and analytical processing, and application scaling, followed by Spark acceleration and faster reporting, Hadoop acceleration. So, I mean, what we're looking at are, this ties in very well with what Eric mentioned: high-speed transactions, real-time streaming, and database caching. So which data stores, right? So what sits behind GridGain or Ignite? Cassandra, Oracle, MySQL. We kind of expect these in financial services, so this all sort of makes sense to me, and it illustrates our ability to work with different kinds of data stores to cache data in memory. And the product features. So Compute Grid, Data Grid, is, again, lines up really well with the stuff Eric was talking about and the needs of the insurance industry for high performance operational and analytical data sets. And it's also, I always find it interesting when we look at different industries, because you know, Compute Grid is an important part of financial services. Computations need to take place quickly. In other industries, sometimes Data Grid is higher. It's just nice to see how different industries use the different features that we make available in our complete platform. Okay, now this was also another interesting one, because there aren't, it's like in financial services, far and away, people are running in-memory computing from GridGain and or Ignite on-premise, followed by AWS, and after that, followed by a hosted private cloud. SQL is a very popular language in financial services. It's kind of a popular language everywhere. There are a lot of developers who already are very familiar with SQL, and both Ignite and you know, our commercial version GridGain are actually unique in providing full SQL support to in-memory, to data that's housed in memory across a cluster. Java is also a commonly used language. C++ and Scala are also commonly used. These are pretty big in financial services too. So this all makes sense. And I think, do you want to take this back, Eric, or should I just keep talking?
Yeah, I think I'll talk about this a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's switch. Okay. Okay. So we'll talk about financial customer use cases, as just wanted to introduce you to our portfolio of clients. And basically, we've gotten very large, as well as mid-size, as well as financial technology vendors, or large banks. A lot of those institutions have insurance arms, and we are hoping that they will switch as well to the GridGain, but they've already adopted our technology throughout their financial institutions, like Citibank, like Sberbank, Barclays, Jefferies, and other financial institutions, as well as the technology firms like MISYS, SNC, Market, that I'll talk about shortly with some of the use cases. And what do they use us for? Well, anything that deals with analytics, risk analysis, hedging, algorithmic trading, algorithmic analysis, artificial intelligence, compliance. A lot of these issues are related to insurance, right? So in insurance, we need to do very advanced risk management. We need to analyze a lot of data for big data analytics and other advanced data analytics to be done. We also need to process a lot of transactions. So in many cases, what you see here applies very well with insurance companies and insurance needs. There are two case studies that we wanted to present. One deals with MISYS, which is a financial software that's used specifically for mainly for risk management and risk analysis, which is related to what insurance companies might want to do, right? They also use systems such as MISYS, such as Calypso, such as Murex to really do some of the risk analysis. This is more done on securities. They do it more on individuals and activities, but still the approach and the type of analysis done is somewhat similar. And it's all real-time data coming in, real-time data is being analyzed, and reports are being provided to customers. And what MISYS does with GridGain is that it's basically built a cluster, and it serves a lot of customers in this multi-tenant setup with their cloud platform, that the customers come in and can utilize the engine to build their models, to analyze their portfolios, analyze their positions on this common platform that MISYS built with GridGain's technology. And this goes across all different instruments, all different types. And as you can see, the director of product management for MISYS is talking about real-time processing needs being addressed with our technology. The second use case is about Sberbank, and Sberbank is the largest bank in Russia and Eastern Europe, and the third largest in Europe. And they've wanted to replace their legacy systems with something new, with something that can help them to scale up into the future, with something that can easily support various types of customers coming in to them with traditional banking branches, with online, with ATM machines, with mobile devices. So they wanted to create a system that can handle this increased flow of data and also provide advanced analytics on the data itself. And they also wanted to minimize dependency on Oracle. As Oracle increased costs of their products, they also wanted to be reasonably priced with something of a future next generation technology. And that's what GridGain had shown to Sberbank, that they've compared about a dozen competitors, and they found that GridGain really provide the best fault tolerance, scalability, SQL support, and important transactional consistency for financial transactions, which was really critical for Sberbank at the time, as well as relatively fast cluster restart time. So they did a test with about 10 Dell R610 blades with 1 terabyte of memory that cost them about $25,000, and they were able to generate about 1 billion transactions per second with this cluster, which was something that they did not expect to see, and that really made them confident that this was the technology for them. And then we have a proof of that Herman Gref, the CEO and chairman of Sberbank, quite influential figure in Eastern Europe in the banking world, as he was the Minister of Finance in Russia years ago. And he said that Sberbank now found a platform that enables the bank to introduce new products very quickly, and having a system that's very reliable and can help the bank to move into the future. And he also says that, well, we've looked at the technology from Oracle, IBM, and others, and IBM had clearly shown us that this is the technology that Sberbank wanted to see set up. Now, Matt, maybe you can pick up and talk about how the Apache Ignite came about and the difference between GridGain and Ignite. Maybe cover a couple of those points.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so Apache Ignite, it's an interesting, oh, my mouse has this ultra sensitive little button on it. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. So you may have heard of GridGain. Basically, GridGain, it's a little interesting. Most open source things kind of start as the open source thing and then become the commercial product. GridGain started as a commercial product, and we had a community edition first. And then we chose to donate our community edition to the Apache Software Foundation. So what we actually donated was a 7-year-old project. So it was a mature project is kind of the point that I'm getting at. And it very quickly grew to be the second fastest project to graduate to be a full project after Spark. And now we have a thriving community, 60 plus contributors. And what this slide doesn't mention, this talks about contributions. We're looking at over what are we at? Like 100,000 downloads a month for Ignite. So this is a mature code base that lots of people are using. So there's a little bit about what is GridGain and what is Ignite. GridGain is a professional edition and an enterprise edition, and they're both based on Ignite. The open source Ignite, basically, the way I look at it is you might want to know what is in-memory computing, what can it offer me, how can I really best use Ignite or GridGain. And so you can download Ignite for free, spin it up. You could call your laptop a node just to play with it and learn about the features and get some idea about the increase in performance. And then ultimately you can move to GridGain Professional, which is very much like Ignite, but with better support, or Enterprise Edition, which also adds security and high availability features as well. All right, so I already touched a little bit about an in-memory platform being a combination of different features and grids, which is actually important because now that you are embracing in-memory technology, if you just move to an in-memory technology that's a point solution, you may outgrow it, and you may find that it doesn't work with all of your use cases. So you actually really would benefit from looking at an in-memory platform because of the support for a variety of use cases. And it's time to start thinking about how in-memory helps you move your business forward, not just how does in-memory act as a stopgap point solution. Here's a lot of the different uses for our in-memory platform. Just looking at this slide, I'm thinking that distributed caching, high scalability from data grid, compute grid, high performance computing, machine learning, risk analysis. These are certainly important use cases in insurance. In-memory SQL and distributed SQL processing and real-time analytics are important for insurance as well. Streaming and complex event processing are important for insurance as well. And and will especially become more important as the insurance industry starts to embrace more IoT use cases in terms of sensors and things like that. And let's see, for historical data analysis, our Hadoop acceleration can be pretty important. So this is sort of an example of how it all ties together. I mentioned before about sliding the GridGain in-memory computing platform between applications and whatever your backend data store is. And you can then work with your applications using our unified API and work with the data sources using either our custom built connectors or our ODBC and JDBC functionality. So I'm going to go through a little bit about what the different components of GridGain and Ignite are and how they can be used in the insurance industry. So really the most important part is the in-memory data grid. And this is essentially an in-memory key value store. We automatically build what we call data caches, and we replicate them and partition them across all of the nodes in a cluster. We do that, I mean, again, I'm going to say automatically, because we do this without you having to do it. You just point our import tool at your existing database, we read in your schemas, and we replicate it across all of our nodes, and it's all automatic. You get great performance, scalability. You can add another node, the cluster detects it and begins to cache data there as well. We have ACID support, ACID compliant transactions for distributed in-memory transactions, which is something that we do. And it's a very interesting computing problem to be able to run an ACID compliant transaction in a distributed fashion at very high speeds. And that's something that we have that expertise and others don't. You can also do web session clustering, less interesting things like web session clustering. And we have a variety of storage technologies, the way that we work with Java to optimize performance. Okay, so key to our functionality is also the in-memory SQL grid. Now this is where the SQL processing takes place. So we are fully ANSI SQL 99 compliant, which means that we support SQL and DML, all of your standard commands. And one thing that's actually very cool is that it's distributed, right? So one of the things that really slows down running SQL queries against distributed data is having to do SQL joins across different nodes in the cluster. And so we actually are a little bit smarter about that. So we don't have to do, what we do is we distribute the SQL queries to each node or the applicable nodes. They run on the node, right? So we've pushed the query to the code instead of pulling the code to the query. And this is a lot faster. And so we then have geospatial support built right in, which I think is probably pretty important for the insurance industry, depending on which kind of insurance you're talking about. So, maybe auto insurance or property and casualty insurance, knowing where something is at any given time is probably pretty important. And again, I mentioned before, we have ODBC and JDBC APIs. So you actually can sort of just make minor modifications to your application in order to leverage your existing SQL code. And that helps you get up and running quickly. Compute Grid is another pretty cool feature in my mind. Basically, we are doing parallel processing of resource-intensive tasks spread out across different nodes in our cluster. There's a lot of sophisticated functionality around that, like building checkpoints, custom scheduling, and things like that. Important things to note, again, this word automatic, which keeps coming up because we do a lot of things for you to help you succeed. Automatic fault tolerance and automatic load balancing of your heavy compute tasks across different nodes in a cluster. And okay, we also do in-memory streaming data analysis and complex event processing. So I guess an example of this might be, the classic example of this is subscribing to a social media feed and monitoring that, looking for events to correlate with your operational data and gain insight into your business. And we let you build windows for continuous queries. It's actually, it's like 2 lines of code to subscribe to a data feed using this Ignite streamer. And you basically just point it at the feed and define your window. And then you can run repeating SQL queries in parallel across nodes that go directly against the streaming data as it comes in and populates over time windows. And we can get pretty sophisticated too in terms of the queries that run based on the data that's ingested. Additionally, we will look at, so that's streaming data for like live data, live real-time analysis. And if you also want to integrate historical data, we do Hadoop acceleration in memory as well, right? So the use here is something like you've got your streaming data, which is sort of, let's say, how, what's going on in the world outside of your company, or it could be in your company, it depends, right? So that could be IoT, sensor data, it could be location data, it could be social media data. I'm thinking about something like, actually, before I give the example, let's just tie it all together, right? So, and then you've got your operational data, and then you've got your historical data, which is held in Hadoop. So let's look at like maybe car insurance, right? So streaming data could be where is the car, what are the current conditions in that general area, and as well as like what's the status of the systems within the car. Operational data is like policy data, claims data, stuff like that. And then the historical data that's held in Hadoop would be the other, like, where was the car, and things like that. So when you bring that all together, you start to get a complete picture of your customer, or whatever asset you've insured, and you can make better and more timely decisions in that way. So I mentioned a little bit before about the differences between Ignite which is basically Professional Edition. Professional Edition has better support, obviously, than the open source Ignite. And then GridGain Enterprise. Oh, and again, when I mentioned that tool that you point at, our import tool, which you point at your existing RDBMS and import the schema, that is on this chart as the management and monitoring GUI, which is called Web Console, and that's a pretty helpful thing we're hearing from our existing customers. And you get better security and better failover, data center replication, as well as, so now you've got node to node is built into Ignite and Professional, and then cluster to cluster is built into Enterprise. And I think that really, in my mind, sums up just about everything you need to know about GridGain's in-memory computing platform and how it can help you in the insurance industry. If you have anything to add, Eric.
No, I think that's great. I mean, you've shown how I think the system, the platform is mature enough to be fully utilized by the insurance company's needs, from the financial transactions perspective, from the high availability perspective, from the performance, scalability, and security perspective. So I think that's where the strength of this platform is, and I'm sure the insurance companies can try to have to actually try this, download it, work with GridGain, and getting a pilot in and seeing how that can show them how they can benefit from it.
Okay, great. So are there any questions? Now's the part where we usually turn it back to Elisa, who asks if there are any questions from the audience.
Yep. So as Matt said, are there any questions? Please go ahead and enter them in the questions field within the GoToWebinar control panel. And just so that everyone knows, I'll be sure to send a copy of both the slides and a link of the recording either today or tomorrow as soon as I process the event. So you'll have that for reference. And I don't think there are any questions, you guys, so you did a really thorough job. And thank you very much. And audience, thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and we hope to see you on a future show. Thank you, Eric and Matt.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone.